Picture a moment where the world as you know it vanishes, leaving only a single, terrifying choice. Most souls retreat into the comfort of the shadows, fearing the cost of a total loss. Yet, history is written by those who looked into that same abyss and decided to bet every breath they had on a single, unproven dream. We are conditioned to believe that safety is the ultimate virtue and that caution protects our future. But what if your greatest security is actually your most dangerous prison? There is a hidden paradox where the highest risk becomes the only logical path to a life beyond your wildest imagination. Before the world recognizes a genius, it sees a fool standing at the edge of a precipice. This journey often begins in a quiet, unassuming room filled with nothing but blueprints and a heavy silence. The air is thick with the smell of old coffee and the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. The world around them is built on the sturdy bricks of convention and the predictable rhythm of the ordinary. Everyone else is playing by the rules, climbing ladders that lead to predetermined destinations. They are surrounded by voices that whisper about stability and the necessity of a backup plan. But inside the mind of the visionary, a different fire is beginning to smolder. They see the flaws in the current system and the cracks in the foundation of what everyone else calls reality. Is it madness to see a future that no one else can even imagine? In these early days, resources are scarce and the odds are stacked high against any form of radical change. Every dollar is counted twice, and every hour is a battle against the ticking clock of failure. The setting is not a grand stage, but a cramped garage or a dusty office where dreams are fragile. The pressure from society to conform is a constant, suffocating force that demands total surrender. Friends and family offer well-meaning advice that sounds more like a death sentence to their ambition. They are told to be realistic, to lower their gaze, and to accept the world as it is. Yet, the more the world pushes back, the more certain they become of their singular, revolutionary path. The status quo is no longer a safety net, it has become a cage that they are desperate to break. They realize that staying still is the only risk they can no longer afford to take. History shows us that every great empire and every life-changing technology started with this same unbearable tension. Whether it was a ship sailing into the unknown or a code that would rewrite human connection, the origin is always humble. It is the quiet moment before the storm of change begins to gather. They stand at the threshold of their own history, looking back at the life they are about to leave behind forever. The bridges are being prepared for the fire, and the final calculations are being made in the dark. This is the origin of the gamble, where the ordinary ends and the extraordinary begins. Before the world knew their names, these visionaries lived in the suffocating silence of the status quo, grinding through lives defined by the expectations of others. They were surrounded by skeptics who mistook their quiet obsession for madness and their restless ambition for a lack of focus. In small workshops and dimly lit rooms, they gathered the fragments of an idea that everyone else dismissed as impossible. This was the era of the overlooked, a time when the foundation of a revolution was being laid in total obscurity. Then, the silence of the workshop is shattered by a single, unavoidable ultimatum. The bank calls, the investors walk away, or the final prototype fails in a spectacular display of wasted effort. It is the moment where the slow burn of preparation meets the cold reality of an immediate, crushing crisis. They realize that the middle ground has completely evaporated beneath their feet. There is no longer a way to play it safe while chasing a dream that demands everything in return. The choice is no longer between success and comfort, but between total annihilation and a leap into the unknown. The weight of this realization settles into their chest like a leaden anchor. Every person they love and every safety net they built is now tied to a single, precarious thread. Can one idea truly be worth the potential destruction of a life's work and reputation? With a trembling hand but a steady heart, they sign the papers that leverage their entire future. They sell the house, drain the savings, or quit the job that provided the only sense of security they ever knew. The bridges behind them are not just closed, they are engulfed in a cleansing, terrifying fire. The world watches in stunned silence as the visionary steps off the map of the known world. Those who once offered gentle advice now look on with a mixture of pity and genuine horror. They are officially labeled as reckless, a cautionary tale in the making for anyone else who dares to dream too loud. But inside the storm of external judgment, a strange and powerful clarity begins to take hold. When you have nothing left to lose, the fear that once paralyzed you starts to lose its grip. The desperation of the situation transforms into a singular, razor-sharp focus that the comfortable will never understand. The first high-stakes test arrives almost immediately, demanding a level of sacrifice they hadn't yet imagined. It is a trial by fire designed to weed out the half-hearted and the merely curious. Will the vision hold together when the pressure reaches its absolute breaking point? The die is cast, and the wheels of destiny are turning with a momentum that cannot be stopped. They are no longer just dreaming of a revolution, they are living inside the chaotic heart of one. The point of no return has been crossed, and the only way out is straight through the center of the fire. As the smoke of the initial leap clears, the first wall looms larger and more jagged than any map could have predicted. The grand theory that looked so perfect on paper begins to crumble the moment it touches the harsh friction of the real world. Was the foundation built on a solid truth, or was it merely a beautiful misunderstanding of the laws of the game? The machinery groans under the weight of expectation, and the first prototype fails not with a bang, but with a pathetic, hollow hiss. Every component that was supposed to harmonize instead clashes in a chaotic symphony of errors and mechanical rejection. They spend 18 hours a day recalibrating, only to find that the problem lies deeper than a simple loose bolt or a line of code. Doubts begin to seep into the small circle of those who chose to follow this impossible vision into the dark. Whispers in the hallway grow louder as the first key collaborator packs their bags, unable to stomach the sight of what looks like a sinking ship. The silence that follows their departure is heavier than any argument, leaving the visionary to face the empty desks and the mounting pressure alone. Financial reserves that were supposed to last months are devoured in mere weeks by unforeseen costs and logistical nightmares. Every invoice feels like a physical blow to the chest, a reminder that the clock is ticking toward a very public and humiliating bankruptcy. They are no longer just fighting for a revolutionary idea, they are fighting for the very air they breathe. A fundamental flaw in their original hypothesis suddenly comes to light, threatening to invalidate everything they have sacrificed so far. It is a mathematical or structural wall that seems impossible to climb, a riddle that has defeated better minds for decades. Is it possible that the skeptics were right all along about the rigid limits of what can actually be achieved? Outside the walls of their struggle, the industry begins to take notice, but only to offer a chorus of mockery and condescension. Competitors launch safe, mediocre alternatives that the public embraces, making the visionary's radical path look like a tragic fool's errand. The world appears to be moving on without them, leaving their revolution to rot in the shadows of conventional progress. The physical toll of the gamble starts to manifest in bloodshot eyes and hands that won't stop shaking from the sheer volume of caffeine and stress. Sleep is no longer a refuge, but a battlefield where the same unsolvable problems play on a loop behind closed eyelids. The line between dedicated persistence and dangerous obsession begins to blur into a terrifying, unrecognizable haze. Yet, amidst the wreckage of a dozen failed experiments, a single, tiny data point refuses to follow the pattern of failure. It is a flicker of light in a cavern of total darkness, a small anomaly that suggests the core of the idea is still beating. This discovery doesn't solve the problem, but it provides the first breadcrumb on a trail that leads deeper into the heart of the unknown. This fragile glimmer of hope forces a brutal confrontation with the reality of the status quo. To follow this new trail, they must dismantle the very assumptions that brought them this far. It is a psychological war where the greatest enemy is not the market, but the ego that refuses to admit it was wrong. They dive into the wreckage of their previous attempts, dissecting every failure with the precision of a surgeon. Every broken component and every line of rejected code is interrogated for the secrets it might hold. Is it possible that the answer was hidden in the noise all along, masked by their own expectations? The external world demands an explanation for the mounting delays and the vanishing capital. Critics argue that the vision has become a delusion, a black hole swallowing resources that could have been used for more practical ends. They are forced to defend a ghost of a concept against the cold, hard logic of those who only believe in what they can already see. This is the crucible where the all-in paradox truly begins to take its toll on the mind. To double down now feels like madness, yet to retreat is to accept a life of permanent mediocrity. They must decide if they are willing to burn the last of their bridges to fuel a fire that may never actually catch. The workshop becomes a sanctuary of obsession, filled with scribbled equations and half-finished models that defy conventional wisdom. They stop looking for a way to fix the old system and start looking for a way to transcend it entirely. The investigation shifts from a search for a solution to a fundamental questioning of the laws of the industry. Loneliness becomes a physical weight, pressing down as the gap between their vision and the world's understanding widens. Even their closest allies begin to look at them with a mixture of pity and fear. Can a single human spirit sustain the pressure of being the only one who sees the invisible path forward? They are now standing at the very edge of human knowledge, staring into a void that has swallowed countless others before them. What if the laws of physics or the rules of the market are truly as rigid as everyone claims? Is the pursuit of the impossible a noble quest, or is it simply a slow-motion suicide of a career and a life? Instead of breaking, the visionaries' resolve begins to calcify into something harder than any obstacle they face. They realize that the confrontation is not with the world, but with their own fear of being completely and utterly wrong. With the last of their strength, they prepare to push the entire weight of their existence against the final, immovable door. The final push is met not with a roar of success, but with a deafening and absolute silence. The last of the resources have been spent, and the machine sits motionless, a cold monument to a failed ambition. It appears the skeptics were right, and the laws of reality have finally won the war against imagination. The lights in the workshop flicker and die, signaling the end of an era that never truly began. There are no more equations to solve and no more bridges left to burn. The visionary stands in the darkness, feeling the crushing weight of a dream that has finally exhaled its last breath. News of the collapse spreads through the industry like a cautionary tale of hubris and wasted potential. The mockery has turned into a hollow pity, which is far more painful to endure than any insult. It is time to clear the desks, sign the final papers, and walk away from the wreckage of a life's work. The world outside continues its indifferent rotation, unbothered by the disappearance of a revolution. Every sacrifice now feels like a senseless theft of time and relationships that can never be recovered. The all-in gamble has resulted in a total loss, leaving nothing but a void where a future once lived. One last walk through the facility reveals the ghosts of every sleepless night and every desperate prayer. The tools are packed away, and the blueprints are rolled up like ancient scrolls of a forgotten religion. It is a quiet, clinical ending to a journey that was supposed to change the course of history. Even in the depths of this surrender, a haunting question lingers in the back of the mind. Was it all for nothing, or was the failure itself the final lesson required for mastery? They look at the silent prototype one last time, seeing only a pile of expensive scrap metal and broken promises. Just as the door is about to close forever, a faint, rhythmic clicking sound echoes through the hollow room. It isn't coming from the main engine, but from a secondary sensor that was supposed to be dead. A small screen, buried under a layer of dust, begins to glow with a steady, pulsating light. The data streaming across the monitor is not an error message, but a confirmation of a phenomenon no one thought possible. In the very moment of total system failure, a new reaction was triggered that bypassed every known limitation. The defeat wasn't an end, but a violent birth of the exact breakthrough they had been hunting for all along. The pulse on the screen accelerates, transforming from a flicker into a steady, blinding beacon of proof. Everything they sacrificed, every hour of isolation, and every cent of lost capital suddenly finds its justification in this single stream of data. The impossible has not only become possible, it is happening right before their eyes in a defiant display of logic-shattering reality. This is no longer a mere experiment, it is the birth of a new paradigm that renders the old world obsolete. The laws that once felt like iron bars are now revealed to be nothing more than temporary suggestions. As the machine hums with a power that feels almost sentient, the weight of the all-in paradox finally shifts from a burden to a crown. Every previous failure was not a setback, but a necessary calibration for this exact moment of alignment. The broken components and rejected codes were the raw materials needed to build a bridge across the chasm of mediocrity. They realize now that the path to the extraordinary is paved exclusively with the wreckage of what everyone else deemed sufficient. A profound silence settles over the room, but this time it is the silence of awe rather than the quiet of defeat. The air feels electric, charged with the realization that they have successfully gambled their entire existence on a truth no one else could see. The tears that fall are not of sorrow, but of the overwhelming relief that comes when a vision finally meets its destiny. When the doors finally open, the world that once mocked their obsession is forced to stand in stunned contemplation. The skeptics and the critics find their arguments dissolved by the sheer force of an undeniable, functioning reality. What was once called a delusion is now hailed as a stroke of genius, proving that the line between madness and mastery is drawn only by the result. This is the ultimate resolution of the all-in paradox. The risk was never about the probability of success, but about the depth of the commitment. By burning every bridge, they ensured that the only way forward was through the impossible. They didn't just find a solution, they forced the universe to yield to a will that refused to accept any other outcome. The breakthrough ripples outward, touching industries and lives far beyond the walls of this singular workshop. It stands as a testament to the power of the human spirit when it is pushed to the absolute edge of its endurance. They have not just built a product or a theory, they have rewritten the narrative of what a single person can achieve when they refuse to play it safe. As the sun rises on a world that will never be the same, the visionary stands at the center of the storm they created. The gamble is over, the debt is paid, and the victory is absolute. They have crossed the threshold from dreamer to architect, leaving behind a legacy that screams a single, undeniable truth. The greatest risk is ever believing that greatness comes without a price. The dust of the revolution eventually settles, but the landscape it leaves behind is forever altered. The names of those who dared to risk everything are etched into the foundations of the modern world, serving as a permanent reminder of what conviction can build. Their story becomes the blueprint for every dreamer who feels the weight of a world that demands conformity over courage. This victory is more than a personal triumph, it is a universal validation of the all-in philosophy. We see now that the safety of the middle ground is often the most dangerous place to reside, as it offers neither the security of the shore nor the glory of the deep. The paradox is finally solved, proving that the only way to reach the unreachable is to let go of everything that keeps us anchored to the ordinary. Yet, as we celebrate the summit, we must never forget the darkness of the climb or the scars earned in the silence of the struggle. Every great leap forward is fueled by the sacrifices of those who were willing to be misunderstood for a lifetime just to be right for a single moment. It is a heavy price, but for those who have tasted the air at the peak, it is a cost they would gladly pay 1,000 times over. But what happens when the victory itself becomes the new status quo, and the hunger for the next impossible challenge begins to gnaw at the soul? The cycle of innovation never truly ends. It merely shifts its gaze toward an even more daunting horizon. If you think this gamble was high, wait until you see what happens when the stakes are no longer just a career, but the very survival of a species.